Welcome back to the Kawasaki F7 build series. In this video I'll be doing a detailed cleaning of most, if not all, of the non-engine parts. This was the first time I've ever done a full detailed cleaning, so I was still trying to figure out some of the methods to get the job done. I figured out a few different things to do and a few different things not to do, so if you're thinking about fixing up an old bike, stick around for a few pointers. My main plan was to use the Purple Power degreaser for most of the cleaning. It worked pretty well at removing the dirt and grease from the frame. When you're cleaning a large piece like the frame, you want to work top to bottom. I cleaned the frame by working side to side from the top, working my way down to the bottom. A mistake that I made was not to remove the steering column completely from the frame. I realized that the degreaser may have gotten into the bearings and eliminated some of the grease, so that's something that I'll have to check when I do remove the steering column from the frame. The main piece of advice I would give to anyone wanting to fix up an old dirty motorcycle would be to wash the bike completely with a pressure washer and a proper cycle cleaner before taking it apart. This will greatly reduce the amount of hand detail cleaning you have to do, saving you a lot of time and headache. I didn't wash the motorcycle beforehand because I don't have a lot of space in my backyard and I didn't think about taking it to a car wash. So if you don't have a lot of space, you can always take the motorcycle to a self-serve car wash and clean it for just a few dollars. Despite that oversight, the frame was still the easiest part of the detailing process. Once the frame was complete, I moved on to detailing some of the non-engine parts. This is where things got a little bit tricky. I continued to use the purple degreaser to clean these parts. However, it was not very effective at removing the dirt and grime that was on these components. It may have been that I diluted it too much, but even with a lot of scrubbing, it just did not seem to work. After a few hours of scrubbing and no progress, I decided I needed to change things up. I decided that solvents might be a better idea than soap, so I broke out the brake parts cleaner and the carb cleaner. This part here that I've been spending a lot of time on is the airbox. I really wanted to get this clean because I did not want the engine to be sucking in contaminants. It was especially difficult to clean, however, because it was coated with some kind of mud or clay-like substance. As you will be able to see in the video, brake parts cleaner is extremely corrosive and it ate through the paint on the airbox. Don't spray it on any painted surface unless you are planning on repainting it. It also was eating through the gloves, so I recommend that you be careful and wear several pairs of gloves. Brake cleaner is not designed for use on rubber parts, and personally I wouldn't trust it on plastic parts. This is why I was using the carburetor cleaner on more sensitive parts that had plastic and rubber. All in all, I found the solvents to be more effective than the degreaser. However, they do have their drawbacks. As I said, I won't want to use it on painted body parts or anything rubber. Once I was done with the less sensitive components, it was time to move on to the body parts, so I busted out my favorite car wash. The car washing soap actually proved to be extremely effective. It may have been that I was using it in such high quantities compared to the degreaser. In many instances, I applied it directly to the parts undiluted. At any rate, it was my favorite chemical to work with because it's basically soap and essentially harmless. I think for future builds, I may even just test the grease cutting abilities of dish soap. there was some minimal surface rust on some areas of these chrome parts. So once I was done washing them, it was time to see if the rust remover would do its job. I was curious to see how well it would work and also if it would remove any oxidation from the aluminum carb cover. It actually worked fairly well on the surface rust of the chrome parts, however it did not remove any oxidation from the carb cover. I'm sure that this rust remover would work well on heavier rust, it would just need more time to sit to eat the rust. This is where I'm going to put in a plug for safety. Any chemical can be damaging when used in a way not intended, especially like getting in your eyes or on your skin. So always wear safety glasses and follow the precautionary statements indicated on the container. While I was using the carb cleaner, I obviously took the opportunity to clean the carburetor. The carburetor on this motorcycle is extremely simple and was already very clean when I took it apart. Anytime you're working on a carburetor, it has a lot of small parts, so I would recommend getting a set of precision screwdrivers. Working on the carburetor was pretty straightforward and easy until I couldn't get the choke cable out, and when it did come out, the spring went flying off into the grass. So after crawling around looking for it, I finished putting the carburetor back together and made a trip to the hardware store for a new spring. Once I got the spring, putting the choke cable together was pretty straightforward. The detailing process of any build or restoration is going to be tedious and take a fair amount of time. However, it's just something that you need to push through and shouldn't rush, especially if you'll be prepping parts for painting. Next week, I'll be getting into the engine to replace gaskets, crankcase oil, and see if there's anything else that it needs, as well as to get it cleaned up and looking new.